Who else is sick to death of hearing CEOs boast and brag about record-breaking profits when their lowest paid employee doesn't have health care and can't afford to pay rent?
How are single people in low-paying jobs, by low-paying I mean like under 100K a year, how are y'all making it?
What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of The Red Pill. The current salary of most jobs should be illegal. People should not be allowed to work 40 hours a week for a business without being able to take care of themselves. The wage disparity needs to be addressed, and the sooner the better. Watch the video and let me know what you think in the comment below.
I know it's a surprise, but people still are saying that, like, you know, what's your definition of low pay? Let me show you. This is my paycheck for the entire month. This is it. That's it. That's all of my pay for the entire month. This check has an extra $150 on it because I mentored a student teacher last year, okay? I'm a 14-year teacher with a PhD. That is my entire month's salary. But let's compare it to where I live. This is how much it cost, on average, for a 2-bedroom tiny apartment. This does not take into account apartments that are only for student housing, for senior living, or low-income apartments. Those are in there too, which brings it down. There's actually nothing available for under $2,000, which I would not qualify. I am almost 38 years old. I have a PhD and 14 years of experience in my field. I should be able to afford more than a 2-bedroom apartment that's 851 square feet. That is what I mean by our pay is too low. This is why teachers are living. We literally cannot afford to live off of our pay. That's why. If we can't afford to live, and we shouldn't just be able to like barely meet the minimum. We are professionals with multiple degrees and years of experience. We should be able to live comfortably. I should not worry about the cost of beef. My check should pay for beef. I should be able to get a car with a car payment. I should be able to afford that. I should not have to pick up side jobs and hustles to save up for vacation for my family. I should be able to take my children on vacation, not even extravagant vacations. Like we road tripped and stayed in super cheap Airbnbs, and I had to save up for a whole year to do that. That is what I mean by we do not get paid enough. Okay, is there anything else? Is it clear? We don't make any money.
I'm an au pair.
And how much do you make?
Like a week, 200.
Driver for a daycare center.
Cool. How much do you make?
About 10 grand a year.
Okay. Do you like what you do?
I love it.
I'm a teacher.
Fun. What kind of teacher?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Love it.
I'm a TV news producer.
Awesome. How much do you make?
I make 54.
Okay.
I make 39K.
Awesome. And do you feel fairly compensated for where you live if you're from here or Pittsburgh?
No.
No.
What do you do?
I'm a social therapist too.
How much do you make?
Right now I'm making probably around like 42.
Yeah. And how many years of experience?
2 to 3.
I'm a preschool teacher.
How much do you make?
$33,000.
How many years of experience?
7.
Okay. Do you love what you do?
Sometimes. I love teaching, but it's everything that goes around it. I want to do something that helps people and like I can use my hands and my creativity, but I haven't figured out what that is yet.
I am a para-educator at an elementary school.
Awesome. How much do you make?
Not enough. I make, I don't know, like 15 grand a year. I have one of the hardest jobs ever, and I don't make enough to live, but I love my job and I love kids. I think that's all that matters, you know? I leave work every day smiling, so I think that's really where it counts.
How are single people in low-paying jobs, by low-paying I mean like under 100K a year, how are y'all making it? Because single here, divorced 6 years. I work in social services and early childhood education. I have a master's degree, but it is a very low-paying field. And if my adult daughter, she just turned 24 on Friday, if she and her baby were not living with me and her helping me pay rent, like as my roommate, I couldn't do it. So yeah.
A server for 73 hours, a bartender for 4 hours and 15 minutes. You want to know how much my check is? That's my check for 77 and a half hours. So yeah, please tip your servers. A server for 73 hours, a bartender for 4 hours and 15 minutes. You want to know how much my check is? That's my check.
How are people surviving financially nowadays? Because me and my husband make decent money. We only have one child. We have regular cars. We're still paying them off, so we have car payments. We live in a decent area, nothing fancy. And I feel like we're constantly struggling. And there's people that make less money than me and us, actually, and they're living wild lives. Like, are people just racking up all this debt? Or am I just doing something really, really, really wrong? Because I feel like I'm always trying to pay something off, or I'm always on a budget. And then student loans are due next month and nobody's talking about it. Like, how?
Everybody keeps saying it's going to get better. How is it going to get better? Our economy is so fucked that I work a full-time job. I make $21 an hour working 40 hours a week. I have no extra expenses, no bills out of my living. I have one credit card that's maxed because I've lived off of it, but other than that, I don't have cable. I haven't had cable in 10 years. We have cell phones, but, you know, that's required to live on. But other than that, nothing extra. On paper, my bills are $2,701. My income is $2,710. Do the math. $9 a month before I pay for food, gas, car repairs, any entertainment. There's no money for that. And my car is dying. It's paid for, so I don't have car payments now that I'm going to replace. And I don't know how to do that on $9 a month. $9 to feed myself, $9 to buy a car, $9 for insurance. Yeah. So at the end of the day, this is me because I worked 8.5 hours a day, knowing that it's not enough, that it won't be enough. Fuck you, Ontario.
$94,000 a year is considered low income in Orange County, California. My dad used to fund a whole family of 6 with a $100K salary and a non-working wife. $94,000 a year is considered low income in Orange County, California.
Following my post about the gender pay gap, a whole lot of blokes commented that the reason it exists in Australia is because women choose to take low-paid jobs. And I want to unpack that. Now, Australia has one of the most gender-segregated workforces in the world. If you build physical infrastructure, like construction, you are much more likely to be a bloke. Whereas, if you build social infrastructure, you do like care-type work, you are much more likely to be a woman. And as it happens, we pay these jobs, on average, much less than we pay these jobs. Now, why does that gender segregation happen? Because it doesn't happen in other countries, so it's not natural or innate. Well, here's another interesting fact. According to a recent global study, Australian men have some of the most sexist attitudes in the developed world. And that's borne out by the evidence because women consistently report that when they apply for jobs in these industries, they get asked questions like, well, what's a pretty girl like you want to do this kind of work for? I mean, it's messy and dirty. You might break your fingernails. Or they get told, oh, no, we can't possibly employ you because you'll be a distraction for the blokes out there. So, when women choose to apply for these kinds of jobs and they have to deal with men who choose to believe that that's okay, and then those women choose not to work in those industries, whose choice is that actually?
Who else is sick to death of hearing CEOs boast and brag about record-breaking profits when their lowest paid employee doesn't have health care and can't afford to pay rent? Congress needs to immediately draft and pass legislation that covers 3 things. Number 1, you as a CEO cannot make more than 200% of what your lowest paid employee makes. That's 2 times whatever you pay your lowest paid employee. So if you're paying your lowest paid employee the federal minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, you cannot make more than $14.50 an hour. And if that's not enough for you and you need to raise your wages so that you can have the lifestyle that you want, then you have to raise the wages of your lowest paid employee and every employee in between. And if CEOs find this unfair and think they won't be able to afford to live on these wages, well, might I suggest you stop buying avocado toast in Starbucks. Number 2, federal minimum wage should not be one set dollar amount that is used across the board. It should be based on the minimum cost of living for the city that the person who is employed lives in. So minimum wage is going to look different in a city like New York or LA than it does in a small town in Nebraska. And employers should not be allowed to pay their employees less than the minimum cost of living for the city that their employee lives in. So local governments will be responsible for calculating the minimum cost of living for their city, and then there will be language written into the federal legislation that accounts for that. Number 3, universal health care across the board. It does not matter if you are employed or not. If you live in this country, you get access to the health care that you need. We are the only industrialized nation that does not guarantee health care to its citizens. There are 30 plus other industrialized nations on this planet that provide their citizens with universal health care, and their economies are thriving. Their economies have not crumbled. In conjunction with this legislation, Citizens United needs to be overturned. Corporations are not people. This country is for the people, by the people, not for corporations. Corporations should not be allowed to spend unlimited money buying politicians in elections so that they can get their legislation passed while we all get fucked. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, whatever the fuck. I want you just for 1 second, hear me out. Just set aside whatever you feel about socialism or communism or capitalism or whatever the fuck, and just ask yourself, how much better would my life be if I was making the minimum cost of living in my city? If I had access to all the health care that I needed, how much better would my quality of life be? Would your life improve drastically if these 3 things were law? If you answered yes, then you need to vote for politicians who would pass these laws. Period. It doesn't fucking matter what party you're loyal to. It is about you taking care of you and your own. This is our country. Our country. It does not belong to these fucking corporations. It's not United States Incorporated. This is for us. We gotta stop this fucking infighting and actually fight for workers' fucking rights here.
Yo, let me know what you think in the comment. Like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.